Good evening, Mzansi. It's Friday. I sense summer approaching, and we're chilling into 2 days of work-free bliss. This is the show of millions.
This month on Impilo Live, we sat down with none other than Powerball and Supersport presenter Fezile Makhanya. Here's what he had to say.
From us, do take care. Msale kahle.
In one word, how would you describe yourself?
Crazy.
What do you mean by that?
I would say crazy in the sense that, I think looking at what I've always wanted to do and where I am, it's not something that one would have planned.
Who is Fezile Makhanya?
Fezile Makhanya is many things. He's a son. He's not a father. Well, not that I know of. He's a grandson. He's just an ordinary guy, that just wants to make a difference and an impact in life and leave a legacy.
How would you describe your upbringing?
My upbringing was awesome. I have two sisters. I'm a middle child, the only boy. Parents are still alive and married after 35 odd years. God-fearing, fun, amazing, simple. I think the one thing that I admire from my parents is their humility and their respect for each other and also for other people. That's the one thing. In fact, those two things I think are the most important things I will teach my children.
When did you realize you had a desire or a passion to want to do TV and be on TV?
I think I saw a gap that was there. And I was just fortunate enough to be at the right place at the right time. And there were more opportunities that came from that particular gap that came through. And I took it and I just ran with it. I never really knew that I was going to be sort of famous or be on television. It was never my plan. I was just doing it part-time, and I was hoping that I was going to use that money to pay off my school fees, which I eventually did. But I'd never thought that 10 years into it that I'd still be where I am today.
As a presenter on SABC, like, you basically were the person that introduced the next program or the next show. When you were at that stage in your career, what did that feel like?
It was mind-blowing, to be honest. Also quite humbling, because having about 20, 25 million people watch you every night, it's quite daunting. Wow, you going to buy bread at that time, it's a different experience. And a lot of people that are coming up now, they would obviously understand what I'm talking about. It is such a great experience where you are greeted by people you don't even know. And one of my mentors was saying that you must be very careful on how you treat people, because it's the kind of impression that you leave that's going to be a lasting impression. A simple thing like hi and how it's said, whether you're having a good or bad day, and we had many of those. It was amazing. It was an eye-opener.
What would you say is probably one of the biggest compliments that you've received in terms of what it is you do professionally?
The one thing that I've always strived for myself is, no matter who I become from a career perspective, I promised myself that I will never forget where I come from and who I am, whether there's money, whether there's no money, because that will be with me for the rest of my life. Entertainment is a very fickle industry where you make friends as and when things progress, and you never know who are your true friends. I've always kept pretty much the same group of friends I've had since high school and my first early years of university, and pretty much that's it. But in terms of answering your question, the one person once said to me, in fact, it was just a few days ago, he was like, "No, you still are the same. You still like the same things." Iyobo, I don't know if you know Iyobo. Those chips that you get in the location, like 50 cents, I still love those, I don't eat them as much, but this friend of mine was like, you still haven't changed. You're still pretty much the same person. And for me, that was a compliment. It was humbling as well, because that's what I've always wanted to do, not change.
You're a follower of Jesus Christ. How does that impact the way you live in the context of what you do professionally specifically?
The industry of entertainment, it's like I said before, it's quite fickle, and you kind of sometimes need to move with the trends. Now with social media, Twitter and YouTube and all those things, where people are saying all these crazy things on Twitter and Facebook, I've always said to myself that I want my actions to do the talking.
Impilo is an organization about wanting to be a leading positive voice in youth culture. How could you speak into that?
I think one of the things that we as South Africans are to blame ourselves in the current position that we find ourselves in, socially, economically, and so forth, is that all the good people are silent. They don't speak. And it's all the people that are doing the wrong things in life that have the biggest mouths, without mentioning any names. I think once the good people that have a positive influence in life, be it politically, socially, whatever the case is, decide to use their voice because they're scared of what could happen. Once we decide to actually speak out, because nowadays, things that were considered wrong back in the day are currently in fashion. And when something is in fashion, it does not necessarily mean it's right. And I believe that with Impilo, we need to make it a movement that has a voice that is heard, that's effective, and that always remains current. Because the youth right now are lost. They don't have guidance. They don't have people to look up to. Because all the people that we are supposed to be looking up to are silent. They're scared of being criticized. It's okay to make mistakes. That's life. But let's make Impilo a movement that is going to add positivity, that is going to give people direction. But ultimately, that's going to lead people to Christ. And not just by what we say, but it's more important about how we act and how we do things. That's going to even leave a more lasting legacy.